Hey everyone, and welcome back to Hoopers Nation, your top destination for NBA basketball content. In a very unexpected turn of events, the Milwaukee Bucks were nearly swept by the Miami Heat, eventually losing their second round series 4-1. Not only was this a huge upset, but it also makes you wonder whether the Miami Heat were just too good in this series or if the Bucks squad simply doesn't have what it takes to achieve major playoff success. Either way, the Bucks are making an early return to their homes with more questions than answers, and perhaps the biggest question of them all is, what's next for the Milwaukee Bucks and their superstar player, Giannis Antetokounmpo? In this video, we'll take a look at the Milwaukee Bucks' flaws and what the future could have in store for their franchise as Giannis' contract comes to an end in the summer of 2021. But before we do, please make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more NBA content. After being eliminated in the second round of the 2020 playoffs, Antetokounmpo was asked during his post-game media availability if he was requesting a trade. "That's not happening," said the Greek Freak. "Some see a wall and go in another direction. I plow through it. We just have to get better as a team, individually, and get right back at it next season."
Get better as a team and come back, and hopefully we can build a culture in Milwaukee that for many years that we can come out here and compete every single year for the championship.
It's honestly not a great time to be a Milwaukee Bucks fan right now. Even amid Giannis' reaffirmation of his commitment to Bucks basketball, there's a lot that can change in one season. Plus, if you take a look at the history books, the track record of big stars claiming they're staying in town for the long run before leaving for nothing in free agency doesn't paint a pretty picture for Milwaukee. Luckily for the Bucks, Giannis still has another year left on his contract, or perhaps not so luckily, depending on how you look at it. If in the 2020-2021 season, the Bucks finally managed to make the NBA Finals with this exact same core, then this year will serve as the franchise's opportunity to show their star player that Milwaukee is the best place to be. But if the team once again heavily underperforms, then it'll be the last straw. In case Antetokounmpo had any doubts, it'll give him the last hint he needed to finally decide if it's best for his career to pursue a championship elsewhere. That fate will rest on the adjustments the Bucks front office decides to make before the start of next season. But before discussing about what happens next season, let's look at what went wrong against the Heat this year. If their 3 regular season games were any indication, the Bucks knew they were in for a rough fight against Miami in the playoffs. The Bucks lost 2 of their 3 regular season matchups with Miami, and performed worse against the Heat in pretty much every statistical category than against all other 28 teams. The Heat deserve a lot of credit, as their 7th-ranked regular season offense was able to beat the Bucks' #1 ranked defense. The Bucks' offense was actually tied with the Heat's, with both teams having offensive ratings of 111.9. But the key to this series is how well Miami handled Milwaukee's most dangerous weapons. They held the Greek Freak to only 21.8 points on 50.8% shooting, which is way down from Antetokounmpo's regular season averages of 29.5 points on 55.3% from the field. His sprained ankle is no excuse, as the Bucks lost all 3 games in which he was fully healthy. Ironically, Bam Adebayo proved he plays arguably the best defense against Giannis, who's the 2020 Defensive Player of the Year, out of anyone in the league. Chris Middleton was forced to score more, especially late in Game 4 and all through Game 5 when Giannis was out. He had to sacrifice his efficiency in the process, and Eric Bledsoe failed to step up when he was desperately needed as the new second option. Brook Lopez was the Bucks' lone bright spot, as he averaged 18.2 points and shot 42.9 from three-point range on almost 6 attempts per game. Milwaukee's front office will be forced to address the elephant in the room this offseason, as it's clear the trio of Giannis, Middleton, and Bledsoe is not suited for playoff success. It appears as if the Bucks are taking the most logical solution, finding a way to trade Eric Bledsoe. It'll be interesting to see how they pull it off, as he still has 2 years left on his contract and is due $37.5 million until 2023. He's not a bad player by any means, but he's been the biggest underperformer for the team in every postseason appearance since his arrival to Milwaukee. His long-range shooting has been particularly bad, as he's shot 25.4% in his playoff career as a Buck. The thing is, when your offense is run through Antetokounmpo, you need to surround him with capable 3-point snipers that make defenses pay for collapsing inside the paint. Instead, Bledsoe's been more of a liability. All of this made the Bucks' offense predictable, with defenders swarming the paint to dissuade Antetokounmpo from driving. A lot of fingers were being pointed at Mike Budenholzer, the Bucks' head coach, as he wasn't able to make the right adjustments in time, and it cost his team dearly. And while it also is true that his rotations were subpar this postseason, there are several reports that dismiss rumors that suggested Bud was in the hot seat. Apparently, his job is safe for the time being. Now, what can Budenholzer and the Bucks do next season to get better results and hopefully convince Giannis to stay? For one, they need to get Antetokounmpo more involved in pick-and-roll action rather than have him initiate plays and dribble as much as he currently does. In 135 games over the past 2 seasons, Giannis averaged 1.4 points per roll to the rim. This basically means he scored 70% of the times he was the roll man in the pick-and-roll action, which is absolutely insane. What doesn't make sense is he only had 156 such plays over 2 years, averaging a tad bit over 1 per game. Again, this is an area of improvement for Budenholzer and his coaching staff, as they don't immediately need to look for players outside when there's still stuff to improve on their current roster. In comparison, players like Domantas Sabonis and Rudy Gobert had 211 and 207 role plays respectively, just this season alone. Bam Adebayo was also one of the top rollers in the league, and the common theme among these bigs is that they have ball handlers capable of creating shots out of pick-and-roll actions, while Giannis doesn't. When Antetokounmpo himself, a guy that has a mediocre at best jump shot from 15+ feet away from the basket, is your best ball handler, you know you're in trouble. This is probably why the Bucks are looking to trade Bledsoe. We've recently heard that the Bucks have inquired about the Thunder's Chris Paul and his availability. Paul is very much available, even after proving he's one of the best point guards in the league with his performances this year. The challenges will be, 1, looking for a way to make salaries match, as CP3 is set to earn $41.4 million next season and $44.2 million in 2022, and 2, finding a third team willing to take on longer contracts, as OKC is unwilling to absorb them. That's without mentioning that the Bucks' current trade assets won't blow anybody away. But if they could manage to acquire Paul, that move could immediately propel them to NBA Finals territory. Milwaukee would be adding a point guard that could not only create his own shot, but also make plays for others at a superior level and play great perimeter defense. You can call it a long shot if you want to, but a guy like Paul is exactly what the Bucks need. Now, what if they can't find a way to trade for him? In that case, they'd be left with other point guard options that wouldn't really make a difference if Bledsoe eventually got replaced. Good 2020 free agent point guards like Fred VanVleet and Goran Dragic are most likely out of the equation, given the Bucks' limited cap space, leaving them with lower-tier alternatives like Jordan Clarkson, Reggie Jackson, and Jeff Teague. There's no reason to believe any of them bring anything else to the table that Bledsoe doesn't, so the Bucks should be busy exploring the trade market and looking to upgrade through those means. Another underlying test Milwaukee will face next season is finding out if Chris Middleton's game can take that next big step. As it currently stands, he's not close to a number 2 option on a championship team, and he looks more like a solid third option who could benefit from the attention other teammates draw. He's an all-star in the weaker Eastern Conference, but realistically speaking, there's no other team that could call themselves championship contenders with Middleton as their second option. So if his game improves in a way it can consistently lighten the workload on Antetokounmpo and draw more attention from opposing defenses, the Bucks' odds at a ring will increase exponentially. At the end of the day, all Antetokounmpo wants is a chance to compete for a ring and eventually win it all. My goal is going to stay the same. It's get better, take it day by day, step by step, and the ultimate goal is to win a championship. But we got to have the same goal. We got to have the same principles. We got to focus on winning a championship. In Giannis' own words, the 2020-2021 season is pretty much a finals or bust year for the Milwaukee Bucks. Can the Bucks make things right next season and get to the NBA Finals? Do you think Giannis is leaving the team? If so, where do you think he lands? Make sure to comment your thoughts down below, as well as leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.